What's up, ladies and gentlemen? So today, I actually wrote this like a week ago, but I've been, I would say, busy, uh, that I wasn't able to make the video. But this is a new series, and I know I have a political series, a life experience, kind of life learned lessons series. I'm gonna try to create a biblical series, and this is just kind of like, I guess, preaching, but maybe just how or maybe what kind of research and studies I've done, and it really has to do with Book of Matthew, the Bible period. And if something is placed in my heart, I kind of will write things down. I take so many notes on my phone all the time using the notepad on here that every single day is like something I learned or a definition I learned or something political that I'm trying to remember. I always annotate it on my phone, but this one is in Matthew 14. Uh, and I'm gonna title this like my or our refocus on God, because I just want to tell you a story from Matthew, and it has to do with Peter. And by the way, God bless you. Let's see what happens in today's word, I guess you could say. Um, so I just want to reiterate: there's a lot of distractions to go around in politics: disease, COVID-19, war, conflicts. Crybabies. Um, but all is well. Seriously, if you're not, I want people to remember you can focus on the wrong things in life, and this is actually what's going to go into the what book or what chapter and book I'm actually Matthew, obviously, but chapter 14, verse 22 through 33. And I'm not going to go verbatim to each one, but I kind of want to glaze over the whole thing, but kind of explain where a lot of us fall in everyday struggle, how we fall into everyday struggle with these types of struggles and storms and stuff like that. So the Bible talks about how Peter focused and believed in the capabilities of Jesus. Jesus was out on Jesus was out on the water. So Peter asked, quote, Lord, if it's you, tell me to come to you on the water. And I want to reiterate, but Peter in this story is actually, we can relate to him. This is us. Peter is us. And Jesus, of course, replied, come, in verse 29. Peter comes down out onto the water and is walking on water at this point, walking toward Jesus. What does he do? Like all of us, uh, like all of us do, when the world has conflicts, when we have conflicts, we forget God is right here, right there where we are, because we asked him to be here. We ordained, or he ordained, God knows the path that we walk, so he knows where we are at any given time, any given moment. And what do we do though? What do we do when we lose, when we get to a godly path, a godly uh, trail, I guess you could say? We take our focus off of Him and focus so much on our troubles, we forget that within our conflict, God is changing us, molding us, but we forget to seek Him in the midst of chaos and destruction. But that's not all. After Peter, like most of us do, lost focus, looked at Jesus and screamed, Lord, save me. This is after he was actually falling into the water. Verse 31, immediately, right? I remember getting preached to this by my mentor, my life youth pastor, when I was growing up. Uh, Immediately, not slowly, not waiting for you to suffer a few days, weeks, and months, when we cried out, Lord, save me, immediately Jesus reached out his hand and caught Peter, and says, you of little faith, why do you doubt? How often do we take our eyes off of God because we so focus on the conflicts of every day that once we do that, we start to sink. We sink into our conflict, we sink into our storm. Take note though, God told them this is the direction you must go, because it, in the beginning of the verse 22 through 32, I can't remember. Jesus actually told them to go across the sea. I think it was the Sea of Galilee, right here, and I will meet you on the other side. How So remember, God ordained, hey, go this way, go into this direction, go seek that career, go seek that education, and we do it what we're told. How often do we just forget to call out to God when we need help? Asking for help isn't easy. Put aside your ego, put aside your pride, refocus onto God, and I promise you, you will find peace in the midst of chaos. Before I stop there, I also want to point out how we make something out of our perceptions of what we see. So back in verse 25, same chapter, Matthew 14. Collectively, before Peter realized it was Jesus walking on the water in the midst of the disciples' storm on this boat, they saw Jesus but didn't recognize him. No, 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 no. They were terrified. They even cried out in fear. It's a ghost. Excuse me. So, God, or Jesus, the Son of God, came out onto the water, and we immediately didn't recognize it because we were so focused on the storm, the stuff around us. So sometimes, even when in the midst of chaos, conflict, relationship turmoils, tsunamis in our lives, earthquakes, tornadoes, what we do is even though God is right there in the midst of everything, we actually lose perception of um, who ordained it, who started it, but also we forget what God even looks like because we get so wrapped up with everything around us that we can never even discern what is right and what is wrong anymore at this point. I feel like that's what he's pretty much saying. And in the midst of our conflicts or storms, we lose sight. One and two, we lose sight. Two, and we forget or are blinded of the blessings or opportunities of greatness when God orders our steps. Do not forget why they were on that boat. Jesus said he would meet them on the other side, yet he didn't. Mind you, it's not that he didn't because of he didn't walk over there. Jesus actually went up to the top of the mountain to pray and was alone and saw the boat being trampled and buffeted by the winds, verse 24. This is what I want you to get out of this. Jesus said he would meet us on the other side of this objective. What we do is we get ready, we start the adventure to that goal, job, career, school, etc. etc. Chaos happens. In the midst of it all, remind you, God doesn't tell us it's going to be easy. But what did Jesus do here? He saw the chaos in that adventure, the storm, and came out to us to meet us. We still didn't recognize him because we called him a ghost, right? But Jesus immediately identified himself and saved us in the midst of that storm. He came for us to save us, not the other way around. You can thank grace for this. God's love, unconditional love. So I want you to, if you're going to get anything out of this, just refocus back on God. Yes, the storms of your relationship, of your marriage, the kids, the education, the school, the career, the job, the whatever the case may be, those are storms, those are tribulations, those are, right, if I can say that, those are things that are going to create conflict. But I want you to refocus on God, and you will find walking on water in the midst of this chaos will bring us peace. I think that's one of the biggest things I have learned in my life, is learning to be peaceful or have peace in the midst of all of this. Right? Storms or tornadoes and earthquakes, stuff like that. But refocus on God. And just remember that knowing God is right there with you. And I think Book of Matthew is absolutely awesome. I love it. I've always read it. I've always studied it. And I don't know why I'm so obsessed with it, but refocus on God. God is there with you in the midst of the storm. Do not lose focus on within a conflict, because I'll tell you right now, that is the reason that conflict is there, to test you. God is testing you. What are you about to learn from that storm? God bless you. Hope you got something out of this. Hope I wasn't talking too fast and I wasn't jumping between ideas. I really hope because I did take notes, so I try to stay on in chronological order. So, God bless you. Have a good day. Have a good week. And, right, it's Friday. Yeah, have a good one.